Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, we're going to have a little bit of fun throwing around some hypotheticals. Don't get too mad at me. And I suggest if you haven't watched my previous video called What Could an $84 Million Salary Cap Mean for the Toronto Maple Leafs Next Season, I suggest you go watch that one because there's a lot of little things in there that I'm going to be showing in this video, and I'm not going to explain them in as much detail as I did in the previous one. So in today's video, I will be answering the question, should and can the Maple Leafs sign Alex Pietrangelo? Now, before Blues fans all get upset at me or whatever like that, I don't even know if there are any Blues fans to watch this channel, but this is just for educational purposes, okay? But for the Blues fans or fans of other teams that want to take this video too seriously, just ask the Islanders how it went the last time the Maple Leafs tried to steal their captain. And as we discussed in the previous video, the NHL salary cap is projecting right now to be between $84 and $88.2 million, probably closer to the lower end of that projection. But as we know, the NHL salary cap is tied to league revenue, and with scares with the coronavirus and COVID-19 going around, those are both the same thing, by the way, league revenue could be going down a little bit. That reminds me, just gotta, there we go. All right. Now that I got the Purell going, we can continue on with the video. So I'm going to go over if the Maple Leafs should even take a run at Alex Pietrangelo first before I take a look at the money situation. And the interesting thing about Alex Pietrangelo is that the same kind of arguments can be made for taking a run at him as the ones that were made for Steven Stamkos and then John Tavares. The only thing that he's costing you is money, and the Maple Leafs do have money, but do they have the cap dollars is the question that we're going to get to later on in the video. But you wouldn't have to give up any assets off of your roster. You wouldn't have to be giving up draft picks. You wouldn't have to be giving up prospects or anything like that. The only thing that you're surrendering is the cap space to get him. But something that's a little bit different about Alex Pietrangelo than it was with Steven Stamkos and John Tavares is that when John Tavares signed his contract, he was 27 years old, turning 28 before the start of the season. Alex Pietrangelo right now is 30 years old, so he's about a year and a half or 2 years older than those guys. Now, I can't say for certain that Alex Pietrangelo would get an 8-year contract from the St. Louis Blues. I imagine he would, but it's going to be in that 6, 7, 8-year range, probably 7 or 8-year range, no matter what. And the other important thing to remember is that only the St. Louis Blues can offer him that 8th year in the contract, so I can't see any other team outbidding them from a money standpoint. Oh, and there's always the smart guy in the back yelling, yeah, but they could do a sign and trade. Listen, the NHL is not the NBA. GMs are not that creative. It's not happening. But to go back on my point that Alex Pietrangelo is similar to John Tavares and Steven Stamkos, but not the same, because on the end of a 7-year deal, he's going to be 37. At the end of an 8-year deal, he's going to be 38. At the end of John Tavares' contract, if I can pull it up here on the screen, he is going to be 34 years old. Because here's a list of defensemen in the NHL that are age 35 and up, and there's not too many of them on this list to start with, but there's maybe only 4 or 5 of them that are worth their contracts right now and still serving major roles on their team. And if the Maple Leafs do get Alex Pietrangelo in the offseason, they'd kind of need to win a Stanley Cup in the next 3 or 4 years before that drop-off of his starts to come. And if they do win one, yeah, eat the rest of the contract. I don't care. We got a cup. But in terms of actual contract comparables for Alex Pietrangelo, I can't see him getting Drew Doughty money or Erik Karlsson money, but I definitely can't see him getting anything less than Roman Josi. And if he were, it'd be a hometown discount and probably to the St. Louis Blues. Or the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I guess he's from here. But to hit this point home again, yes, the Maple Leafs can front load the crap out of the contract, and he can have most of his money up front, and he can go invest it and make up the difference that he would from signing a 7-year deal compared to an 8-year deal. But the St. Louis Blues are the only team in the league that can offer him that 8th year. And when it comes to his actual playing career, this is probably going to be his last contract that he signs in the NHL. And I mean, if you want to take a look at the St. Louis Blues' cap situation for next year, I guess we could, but I don't know too much about their situation and what their players got going on and stuff like that. But it looks like they got 19 players signed for next season, so typically a roster is anywhere between 21, 22, or 23, and this is missing Vince Dunn and Alex Pietrangelo, maybe throwing in other guys. So they're missing 3 guys off of this team with over $10 million, and it's the same thing with the Tampa Bay Lightning and Steven Stamkos. They bought out Matthew Carle, who was making about $4.5 million at the time. They will find the money to keep their captain if they're going to keep their captain. The one thing I will say about the St. Louis Blues, and I believe this to be an astute observation by myself, in previous years when they had players that were UFAs and they didn't think that they were going to re-sign them, they traded them away. Guys like Paul Stastny, guys like Kevin Shattenkirk. But they also did lose their former captain, David Backes, to free agency to the Boston Bruins. But I believe that was the same year that they traded Kevin Shattenkirk. And I don't think that they were willing to part ways with both because they were still in the playoffs at that time. Those teams still made the playoffs even though they traded away Paul Stastny and Kevin Shattenkirk. But it wasn't necessarily their year. Maybe the St. Louis Blues think it's their year again, as they are the reigning Stanley Cup champions right now. So they're going to hold on to Alex Pietrangelo and go for it one more time. But also, another interesting thing that the St. Louis Blues did at the beginning of the season that was a little bit confusing is they went out and traded for Justin Falk and then immediately signed him to a $6.5 million deal for 7 years. And when you're looking at the right side of their blue line, I mean Colton Parayko, Justin Falk, Robert Bertuzzo, there's not a lot of minutes to go around there, but it definitely is a luxury to have Alex Pietrangelo for them this season because those are 3 awesome right-shooting defensemen. Now, this is where it would be helpful to go back and watch that video that I did a couple of days ago looking at what could an $84 million salary cap mean for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I go over a lot of the stuff that I have here. But just quickly, Nick Robertson is a guy that I think could really make the Leafs next season, and I made a video specifically about him, so check out that one as well. I will link all of them on the screen somewhere, and by the end of the video, of course. But Andreas Johnsson and Travis Dermott are on LTIR to subtract their cap hit so we can see how much money we have to work with. And still, that's not enough money for Alex Pietrangelo. And then this is where things start to get a little bit more galaxy brainy, but I guess we're already on the topic of signing Alex Pietrangelo, so I guess we have no choice but to just continue on. And I'm working under the assumption that you don't trade any of the core 4 players. So Austin Matthews, John Tavares, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner. You would trade supplementary players. And the next player on my list that would get you the money anyway would be Alexander Kerfoot. And if you move him out, you can kind of see that now you have the salary cap space to go out there and sign that hypothetical $9 million contract that Alex Pietrangelo would more than likely get. Maybe he signs for a little bit less, $8.5 million, $8.75 million, but I can't see it being anything less than that. And I mean, why stop there? One of Elliot Friedman's more recent 31 Thoughts editions has Joe Thornton being linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he cited that money is not a concern for the 40-year-old. There we go, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Look, we did it with $28,000 to spare. We got Alex Pietrangelo on the Toronto Maple Leafs for next season. And just think about all the picks and prospects that you could get for Andreas Johnsson, Travis Dermott, and Alexander Kerfoot. I hope that no one is 100% taking me seriously in this video. The point of this video, and especially the latter half of it, is to show the extent that the Toronto Maple Leafs would have to go to get Alex Pietrangelo on this roster. I'm not saying it's impossible. They probably should explore it if it is an option because it's Alex freaking Pietrangelo. And I'm just saying, for the 2022 Olympics, if the NHL does decide to go, Morgan Rielly and Alex Pietrangelo could be a pretty sweet pairing. But let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comments section below, and make sure to leave me a like on this video, okay? I don't normally do things like this here on the channel. I don't normally like to explore the galaxy brainy stuff like this, but I mean, let's have some fun. The Maple Leafs have been quite depressing lately, so yeah. But they are still going to make the playoffs, and they're going to beat both the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs this season. We're still speaking that into existence. We're surrounding ourselves with positive vibes, and onwards we will go.